We're back. It's back. We are back. We got some good stuff to talk about today. Welcome to the new show, The Farmer Report. We just changed it a little bit because there's so much information that I'm running into out here. And I want to make sure that I give you a report that I can get an A on. That's very important that I be able to get an A to really give you insight, information, to encourage you, to make your life bigger, better, whatever it is that we can do to assist you in this hour. I'm excited. I want to first say to you that the views and opinions of this show are expressed views of myself. I said last week, and this young lady who's on with us made sure she went through this with me many times, that I would say it so politely that if you have any views and opinions of this show, certainly contact me direct. You know how to reach me on Facebook, Twitter, X, TikTok. You get my personal email, whatever, how you want to reach me, please reach out to me. And we'll certainly reason together and see how we can make a clear understanding about what we're talking about. I'm just excited today we got some absences today, and we're praying especially for our co-host, Dr. Michelle Robinson today, and then for our young man who's going to come on today. He's a prophet extraordinary. He's got an event coming up called Think Tank, and it's coming up in December. And I really want to talk about it because it goes hand in hand with what we're doing. And that's Prophet Kirvin. So, Prophet, we're praying for you today. I got that call from him earlier. Miss Katina, who is racing to get home after picking up her beautiful children, we'll try to get on shortly. She may run a little late, but listen, we can run the show right here. I got the one and the only. She's my friend, my sister. She co-hosts with us for 2 seasons, and she's such a blessing. I want to welcome her back today as a guest. But she's always a co-host, and that's Coach Kim Betty. Welcome, Coach.
Thank you. I am just it feels like I'm coming back home. So I'm glad to be here. Doesn't matter what the name might change, but the heart remains the same. And so I'm glad to be here.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. That's a good explanation. And for some reason or other, we don't see him on the screen. He's Superman. He's a super producer. He's all over the country, traveling, producing albums, CDs, whatever method of music you have, he's producing them. As a matter of fact, I got a connecting with Michelle Prater because she made me to definitely connecting. Keisha Grandy's coming out. I can name the list of people that's coming out. Let's welcome back our co-host, Ernest Lee.
Yes, sir. Good to be here one more week. Good to see Kim with us again this week. And it's like old times, man. Let's get it going and see what the Lord is saying today.
Okay, so I addressed a topic which Bishop Smith sent me a note on the text chain to talk about what is mindset. And I immediately went back to him to say that mindset is so important. We don't have to make it. Let's don't even try to make it. I can give you scriptures, but let's don't even make it scriptural. Let's talk about your mindset with living day by day. What should your mindset be? It definitely can't be negative, because if it's negative, that's going to affect your entire life. So yeah. I want Coach Kim, who deals with mindset and been dealing with mindset. Congratulations on 20 years of stepping out there. I remember coming to one of your radio shows in Detroit, Michigan, and that subject at that point was still about mindset. You've been talking about it for 20 years. What has changed, and how do we get people watching us to really understand that mindset is important for your entire life?
Yeah. Wow. Well, strap yourselves in. I've got about 5 hours of content. No, I'm kidding. So, I could. And I think, we were talking even before we came on, and Dr. Keith and I said, I humbly want to honor, but I always challenge you, challenge in a good way, right? And so I don't think we can have the conversation without the spiritual reference. And I'm going to tell you why in a minute. And God is so good, because literally this last Sunday, I go to E-Church with Bishop T.D. Jakes and his daughter, Sarah Jakes Roberts. And this Sunday, though, he just happened to have Anita Phillips on, Dr. Anita Phillips, who is a psychologist and minister and life coach. And she has a new book out, and I don't want to get it wrong, so let me make sure I say it right. The Garden Within, where the war with your emotions end and your most powerful life begins. And in essence, she was throwing mindsets flipping it upside down. So you asked about a journey. And I will say this, the thing that we can all agree on is that there's two basic kinds of mindsets. And you will hear all the experts say this, and it's a growth mindset or a fixed mindset. Kind of like it sounds, right? Growth is that we believe we are on a journey, and everything from our intellect to our character to, the way that we handle ourselves can all evolve and get better and better and better and greater. Mm-hmm. A fixed is that, and we hear people say this with all due respect, I'm just the way that I am. It's just the way that it is. I grew up even in a household with my mama she said, I'm a realist, not a pessimist, but things just are the way they are. And so that is to no disrespect to anyone that feels that way, but there's a growth mindset and a fixed mindset. I say that because I am truly someone that has a growth mindset. Just since this past Sunday, I'm thinking of mindsets differently as they evolve. But to really back that thing up, I will say that, I am celebrating, as Dr. Keith said, 20 years from having my own experience of being called. And that is so when you aren't a bishop, you know what I mean, or a minister, you're like, what does that even mean? But I was sitting in Hartford Memorial Baptist Church in Detroit. I'm from Detroit, lived in New York for a while. Now I'm out in Los Angeles, California. But I was sitting in Hartford Memorial Baptist Church in 2003 of November. So I'm literally coming up on it. And the Reverend Dr. Charles Adams and that's who I got to sit with. Come on now. Right?
That's my parish's pastor.
There we go. And so he was preaching, and he's preached on this topic, I know for a fact, in 2003, again in the between, I don't know the exact year, but maybe 2005 and 6. And then again, I want to say like 2010. This is a topic of his, contrary winds. And he was talking about 7 things that we are to be grateful for when we're going through these storms. So all that to say, I was sitting there listening. My best friend was sitting next to me. And I told her, do you hear like a process? Like I'm hearing this. She's like, I think that's you hearing what you hear. I'm hearing what I hear. And everything became clear for me. Everything that I had been studying at the time, I was studying for my master's in counseling, everything that I had learned about coaching from a corporate level, everything that I had learned, it just started, was like, I got it. It was all the same. And the bottom line is when I left, and what I heard from God was, do for the church, the people of faith, my people, what you've been doing for corporate America. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like, what does that mean? It took me 10, 12, 15 years to figure it out. But the bottom line was I went home, and you're going to chuckle about this. I went home, and what came to me was, you are studying to be a coach. The best coach was Moses when he talked to the children of God on their journey to the promised land, when he set them down and said, hey, time out. Let's stop this wandering, right? And let's look at our mindsets. What's going on with us so that we don't make this mistake again and again and again and again. So I ran to the bookstores and I said, do you have a book on like the journey of the people of Israel to the promised land? Do you have it? Everybody was like, yeah, Leviticus, Exodus, Deuteronomy. I'm like, no, I don't know how to read the Bible. I need like the Cliff Notes. And at the time there was none that anyone had. So I studied, I never before had done it, read the Bible cover to cover, application Bible, studied. And so my entire coaching methodology and mindsets that God gave me came from this studying. But let me give it one more deeper thought, because anybody who's been called knows this. And then I had to live it. I had no idea I was going to go on my own wandering around of the wilderness to, as they say, not understand it, but understand it. So the journey always continues. And this Sunday, what Dr. Anita Phillips was helping us to all understand is, so when you think about a mindset, the traditional answer is it's your state of mind, it's your attitude, it's your thoughts. What I would like to propose today with my newest understanding is what do you have your mind set on?
Whoa. Let's walk slow on that. What do you have your mind set on? That's a good question. Okay.
So we
now
can't remove God and spiritual life out of that.
Right.
It's a hint. I'm giving you the answer before I give the question. But what do
Right.
you have your mind set on? Because Dr. Anita Phillips did a great job of, and I just sent this to my best friend who's a therapist. I said, you gotta hear this. Because traditionally in psychology, we understand our thoughts create our feelings and that creates our behaviors. Dr. Phillips is letting us know that neuroscience is flipping that, so we understand it is our beliefs that impact our emotions, that impact our thoughts, that impact our behavior. And she goes really deep with our parasympathetic nerve and our sympathetic nerve and how, if you have to read the book to really get it and understand all that. But what we are feeling impacts, do we have a calm state, a healthy state, a good state to have these thoughts? Or are we in a fight or flight stressful zone? So what I'm proposing, when I break it all down in about 5 or 6 different books, my gift, Ernest, is to break it down and simplify it. I would suggest that your mindset is you asking yourself, what do I have my mindset on? Let's start with that.
Well, the Bible tells us, as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. So that right there goes along with that same premise, because what you think about most times is what you're going to produce. That's why the Bible says, think on these things, whatever things are this, whatever things are this, whatever things are, pure, holy, this, of a good report. Think on these things, because when you start thinking about other things, your bills, who's not with you, why did they do this? And, why did I do that? And my mistakes, then you begin to process that. And then you begin to birth that, meaning you birth that mindset, and you birth that metaphysical piece to it. See, a lot of people, we don't like to deal, Christians don't like to deal with the metaphysical thing, because sometimes, think about this, when you feel grief, you can't breathe. What that means is connected to your body. When you start hyperventilating, these are things that are connected to our mindset, what we think, how we process things. And most of the time, things are not as bad as they even look. Sometimes, sometimes things are bad, but they're not as bad as they seem sometimes. And think about this too. When you begin to connect with other people that have the same mindset, that the old saying, birds of a feather flock together. Think about people that's negative. They always hang with, they always around the same negative people. Those are mindsets. And until you break that pattern of being a negative person, or being always worried about what's going on, then you will always continue to have this woe is me attitude that comes along with having a mindset that's defeated, a defeatist attitude.
Go back to that first scripture that you said about the thoughts and heart. Say the heart part.
As a man thinketh, so is he.
As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he.
Mm-hmm. And that's what Dr. Anita was trying to get us to see, that it is, we all know God examines the heart. And so it is the heart and the emotions. So it's a simple thing before we get to the fact of fixing your mind on Christ and on, putting God at the center. Let's just start with the fact that and see the difference. How do I say this? And Dr. Keith knows I feel this way. I never have the hubris aspect of shame on you because you think negative.
Okay. Right.
Because, it's not your fault. You know what I mean? I can put a case by case basis for you to stop it, but I'm not shaming you for it. What I am saying, though, is what Dr. Anita says, which is when you get ready to make a decision. Don't go to the grocery store hungry. That's the best way I can put it. Unless you want a big bill or a bunch of Cheetos and things you didn't intend to buy. Right? So when you're about to make a decision, or if you're thinking or you're examining a direction or path you want to go on, it's totally what Ernest said. Think about, get in touch with your feelings first. Are you feeling scared? Are you feeling angry? One of the things that I was sharing with Dr. Keith is I have a couple of programs coming out. I'm going to tell you about those, but I'd be remiss without saying one of the things that I'm doing is supporting leaders. And Dr. Keith knows that's why I'm so passionate, right? Been an executive coach for a long time. And so when you're a leader and I'm talking to leaders, I'm always saying, what are you really feeling about that team member? What are you thinking about that team member? Because I don't care if you say it with a smile. I don't care if you talk soft. I don't care if you control your words. If you're thinking, if this is the 80th time you have let me down, and all you do is take my money and you never do the things that I ask you to do, and I really want you out of here, but I can't afford it right now. No matter what you say, it's going to come off that way. So the same thing with our thoughts. if we're feeling scared, feeling like, someone's disrespected you, feeling, sad, feeling grief, we're feeling all these things, our thoughts are not going to be clear. I'd like to propose the farmer report is also, because we know that the Bible talks about harvesting and farming, and that's what I thought of, Dr. Farmer, like, so which comes first? Is it the fruit comes first, or does the seed come first?
Oh, you can't have the seed before you can't wait a minute. You can't have the fruit before you plant the seed.
Right.
And check this out. What Dr. Anita Phillips was saying was, then the fruit falls, and then we just got another seed coming.
Got another seed coming.
It's this whole cycle. So the farmer's report is also like, what are you harvesting?
Oh, wow, that's a good thing. What are you harvesting? So let me ask you a question, because I found when I was looking at this mindset. So I'm gonna ask her some questions, because you said 2 mindsets, but in some people say that there are 4.
Yeah, I've heard
growth. There's positive. There's entrepreneurial, and there's challenge mindsets. Growth, positive, entrepreneurial, and challenge mindsets. Now, here's what I read also. Your mindsets are influenced on how you engage or respond in the moment that is presented. So when you got something going on, your mindset influences how you respond. So Ernest, that goes back to what Ernest said. You tripping out because you got a bill. You tripping out because this thing going on, but you tripping just about that moment. But is that your mindset? Is that should you lock yourself into that moment?
And if you go with the thinking that we're suggesting, I'm going to pause for a minute and say, what is my mindset on? I'm set. And I've lived it. I went through in 2008, the storm of the recession. One of the things that I had to go through my journey, right? I told you that I had this situation of you're going to be wandering, and then I lost everything and I was wandering, literally like a nomad, right? And so I have to be careful when something comes up like the pandemic. Am I panicking post-traumatic of what happened back in 2008, 2009, around that time, because I'm fearful? So what is my mind set on? My mind is set back on the past and being fearful of this. So I have to be careful not making a decision based on that, which would also be known as reacting.
Okay, so you just said something. So here's the things that we got to tell the people. You just said something, and I saw your hand, Ernest. Don't make decisions based on fear.
Pause, assess it, validate it, know it's there. And I'm going to speak after Ernest on what we can literally do about it, but you need to pause. What were you going to say, Ernest?
Before you wait. You need to pause in the midst of the fear, in the midst of whatever's going on. You got to stop. You got to pause and say, okay, I got this going on, and then I got to see where my mind is to deal with.
Let me say this though first, real quick. Pause unless the house is on fire. There's a purpose for fight and flight.
Okay, right.
And if the bear is coming after you, the house is on fire, the flood is coming, then you get out and do that. But in most situations.
So remember that, y'all. Whatever the situation is, take a pause. But the pause is based on what that current moment is. So when you pause, that's good. You know how good that is. Pause, and then you see where your mind is in order to do it. Don't let fear take over. I got to find that sermon on, Wilma Johnson, his Ernest pastor was his pastor, and then my pastor was Frederick Sampson, and them two together, the 3 of them were great pastors in Detroit area. And I remember that sermon on contrary winds. That sermon on contrary winds. It was like
I have it on YouTube, another version of it. I'll send it to you.
That sermon that blow your mind away. Okay, what you got to say?
I wanted to say, when she mentioned pause, there is a saying to like to say, the calmer you are. So those that are writing this down, the calmer you are, the clearer you think. So therefore, you need to move
fast. The calmer you are,
the clearer you think.
The clearer you think.
So the answer to that is the fix of that is move with strategy and not emotion.
Oh, move. No, see, that's a good right there.
Because at the end of the day, when we make decisions, sometimes on the fly, that temporary decision can turn into a permanent situation. And so even in relationships, even in business deals, sometimes think about what they call buyer's remorse. Like you go buy a car and they pressure you to sign this contract, and you sign it and you get the car home. You're like, man, how am I going to really pay for this? You know what I'm saying? Now you get that buyer. So sometimes you have to move with strategy, not with emotion. Because think about this too. Thoughts are energy. Thoughts are not dead. They're alive. So
Right.
that's why, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. And I want to say I'm not too sure I want to mess that scripture up, but I think is that thinketh a ETH?
Think
So
of
yeah, so it's continual. So that means
Mm.
that lets you know it's energy every time you think of something, every time you birth something out of your thoughts. Think about this: how we got here. Your mom, your dad, no matter how you got here, your mom and your dad saw each other, and they thought to say, hey, I like her, I like him, and they end up having you, or however you got here. It started with a thought. Jesus even started his when he went to go heal people, he thought, man, let me go. I know Jairus' daughter has died and she's dead, they say, but let me go over here and do this. Let me go and stop it. He thought before. Think about it. Now, in the that's a good example of emotion in the moment. Jairus' daughter died. They called for Jesus, and he stops at a wedding. So what does that tell you? He stopped to not because he already knew he had the power. He knew he could go do it. That's why he wasn't tripping. He said, "All right." She just said, "Okay, I got it," because he knew his assignment. He knew he was moving with strategy. So I like to use the word divine strategy. So I always pray and ask God for divine strategy, because how do you move in the midst of things going, like you said, house on fire? How do you have to be calm, but at the end of the day, your thoughts are energy. So whatever you birthing out of those thoughts is going to be birthed into the natural.
Yeah.
very good.
I had a client recently that went through she called me in the middle of the night and said, we got this situation going. She had her team at an event. And so all these things were going on and they were in a crisis mode. But what she's good at, and some of us are good at, is strategic thinking, even in the crisis state, right? But even she needed to stop for 1 minute and call her coach and go like, this is what the situation is. These are the things going on. And I wanted to have a normal reaction. It was 8:30 at night. What? She did what? Who did what? She's like, no, I need you to help me make a decision quick. I went, boom. Okay, do this, do that, do this.
Mm-hmm.
But Ernest, don't make a long-term decision on it. Get out of this crisis and then let's pause and let's talk about it. So sometimes you have to do a little bit of both. The productive thing to think about, though, because once again, we're telling people don't make a decision in the emotional moment. Put your emotions back in a calm state. Well, how do I do that? And one of the things, this is what I love. You can't think your way out of the situation. You do have to feel your way out. The way that we do that is through truth. It goes back to what Ernest said, think on what is true and noble and just. So when you are in a situation, you're going to assess how you are feeling. Am I feeling scared? Am I feeling angry? Am I feeling, guilty? Am I feeling shame? What am I feeling? And then assess what is the actual truth about the situation. So I go back to the financial one that a lot of us can relate to. So, oh my gosh, the pandemic is coming. Is this going to have me lose everything like the recession did? Like, what's going to happen if I don't have all my money and my savings? And what's going to happen if I start to spend it? What if I can't go back to work? What's going to happen? What's the truth? I'm afraid. I'm feeling fearful. Well, the truth is true. The pandemic and you didn't have your money together. It actually could. But what else is true? Well, and you can't just say, I can do all things. Well, do you really believe that or not? This is what I love. Because I have 7 mindsets that God gave me that was inspired. And hope is the first one. Hope is the very first one. It's the prerequisite, I say, of all change and all action. And I love this way of thinking about it. Hope is a feeling. And what I'm saying is you can believe that I can do all things in Christ. You can believe that is a truth, but do you believe it for yourself? Like, do you believe that I can do all things? So I can turn it around and go, I learned from the recession. I'm in a way better situation than I was during the recession. I'm not all tired and worn out and burned out like I was in the recession. But the truth is, I do have enough energy and faith and connections to survive this pandemic. It's going to be okay. So you got to talk to yourself until you get into, or talk to someone else, get a counselor or friend until you actually feel that calm. Now I can make decisions.
That's good.
Let me say this too. Now, when I shared this with a men's fellowship that I'm on, and when the enemy, when you fight a boxing match, what do you do in that boxing match? The opponents, they study tape on each other, right? So we know that the enemy, proverbial enemy, we call the devil. Some people just, don't call him anything, but what we call the enemy, the Bible says he's going to and fro seeking whom they may devour. So what that tells me, now he's not omnipresent. He can't be in that. So I'm not saying that. But when you feel like the enemy of your mind, because sometimes we're our own enemy.
Mhm.
Most of the time, the enemy in our mind is us. It's not even the devil. What we call the devil is us. It's our
Mhm.
thoughts. And so let me ask you this: when I'm gonna say these two things. One is when you studying your opponent, like boxers do, they're studying their weaknesses. So that means they can exploit them. So how do we know that the enemy does that? Because he brings things to our mind that will eventually come out of our mouth because we keep thinking about it. And so the mindset that you have to have is to let this mind be in you that was also in Christ Jesus, walk not after the flesh, but after the spirit. In other words, stay above it all, even though it's hard to do. But you got to remember, whatever's in your mind is going to eventually come out of your mouth. And so that's why you got to understand the enemy is he's studying you just like a boxer does. And so think about this: when that happens, you're vulnerable. You have a blind spot. So the enemy knows your blind spots. He knows what a farmer is going to be susceptible to. He knows what Lee is going to be susceptible to. He knows what Betty's going to be susceptible to. And so that's why he's able to exploit our blind spots. So we have to understand that we all have them, no matter how strong you are, no matter super Christian or no faith at all. Everyone has blind spots. So you need to first write that down to identify what is my blind spots mentally. You know, what am I susceptible to when I think? What is some of the things that get me bogged down? Because this is the second thing I want to say. Guess what our biggest enemy is, y'all? Like seriously, what do you think your biggest enemy is?
Your imagination, your mind,
It's your past.
your past.
Because your past knows everything about you.
Yeah.
So you got to remember when you're thinking about why am I feeling a certain way, it's probably some things you've been through. It's your past. That's your biggest enemy, because that's what's going to fight you the most. It's the past mistakes, past actions that didn't work out, past relationships that didn't work out. So I'm
trauma
again,
Mhm.
right? I'm not right. Post-traumatic stress. I'm not going to try again because that's a mindset. I'm not going to try it again because last time it didn't work. Or you get in a relationship and say, I'm not going to let this person tell me nothing what to do because last person said. That's a mindset. You develop this mindset based off your past, and that's our biggest enemy.
That's right. That's good. When I was studying more, I got this something else that, again, you just mentioned this. There's 4 things that I read that I like. It says, stop waiting for your outside miracle to change your mind. Number 2, stop believing that you can't control your thoughts. Stop believing that you can't control your thoughts.
Exactly.
Number 3, what you feel your mind becomes a mindset. What you feel in your mind or what you feel becomes a mindset. And he just said that as well.
Yeah.
Number 4 is confess what you believe, not what you feel.
Mm-hmm.
That's
So
it,
those
right?
are important things. And those are very important things. So Kim, when we talk about changing from a fixed to a growth mindset, are there steps? Are there stages? How do you do it?
And I'm going to take it to a third. The reason why, you can look at entrepreneurial or challenging, but that would actually still go under growth. You know what I mean? So when we put the polar opposites of fixed and growth, I think that secularly we could effort and try to do all the things that would have us appear to have a growth mindset. The third alternative mindset from a Christian perspective is to have a God-centered mindset. Some people call it a spiritual mindset. I like to call it a faith-focused mindset. And the reason I can relate so much is because, my background is corporate. So when you're thinking about setting goals, being strategic, achieving an outcome in the corporate world, the goal is to align your goals, your thoughts, align with the company. And then I'm always making good decisions, right? You look out for me, I look out for you, and we get them all in the same place. The same thing with our lives. So if I have instead of trying to figure out if I can have a fixed or growth, and I have a spiritual growth or a God-centered mindset or a faith-focused mindset, then I can think on what is true and pure and noble, etc. So Dr. Keith, I think it is work on having a spiritual growth mindset. That's why I said I don't think we can remove it. And so part of that, to be God-centered, is to work in our spiritual practices. This is something that Dr. Keith and I have been talking about, and I still think we're going to have to put our minds together for that. And this is also what Dr. Anita Phillips was talking about. When you get the word, when you get inspired, does it get strangled by your stress and your fear and your emotions or your sympathetic nerve? Or does it grow like the tree of life because it's in your sympathetic nerve, which is that calm place that Ernest is talking about? So it can't grow if it doesn't have good soil, We can't be a good farmer if we don't have good soil. So when you get that word, you've got to make sure that it is planted. So if I'm panicking, that's not good soil. Once I'm calm, that's good soil. So I'm suggesting that as people of faith, and I'm much more broad in people of faith because I coach Christians, I coach Jewish, I coach, Muslims. So if you have faith, then let's have a spiritual, faith-focused mindset and put that to place, because I believe that we can get there faster that way. So to me, that's the first step. Everybody I coach, look, I coach a lot of different, I coach people of faith and the people of no faith. But I can tell you that the people that I coach that are full of faith, regardless of what their religious affiliation is, I can beat my head up against the resistance and they don't get it. And then they will literally call me and say, I went to temple the other day and I see what you're talking about. I'm like, yes, you make my life so easy, God.
That makes sense.
So that's what I'm proposing, is that the spiritual growth is our mindset. And let me just break it down to say what I understand. Okay. So as you said, Dr. Keith, as I celebrate my 20th year, and the methodology and the mindsets that God gave me that are aligned with also what I learned from Hartford Memorial Baptist Church, I'd have to draw it all out for you to really to get it, but I know that you'll get it. So the reason the name of my business is Greater Advantages, God, I remember the acronym of the methodology through the word greater, but I'm going to align it with the mindsets. And so this is the spiritual growth mindset that I suggest. So yes, there are steps, and it looks a little something like this. God calls us to do something. Get out the wilderness, get your finances together this time. You know what I mean? Be a better leader, be a better mother, husband than you were, wife than you were last time. Be a preacher, be a teacher, whatever it is. God calls us to do something. Sometimes it's some major contribution. Sometimes it's to be a better human being. And we need to have the mindset of hope at that time, not hopelessness, but hope. It is a prerequisite. So that feeling of optimism needs to be there, the substance of faith and hope. Then he always reveals our weaknesses. We think about it. We never get a call where we're not understanding some way of humility of where my limitations are and how I'll have to either rely on someone else or develop myself, or maybe I'm not going to have the thorn taken out of my side and I might have to do this with a limp, but it's okay. You're going to get there faster than those with two good legs with your limp. And at that point, what I understood, because look at it this way, I was looking at Old Testaments with the greater methodology, and then he took me to New Testament with the mindsets. So when you are feeling like, but God, I can't do it because I'm this and I lack that, and in my weakness, you are made strong. We have to have a mindset of grace that, with God, I can do it, and be graceful. You might limp a little bit, but be graceful in it. Like, be gentle with yourself. Then he encourages us to build our characters. There's never a time, Bishop, that we are called to do something that he doesn't say, you need to fix these things right here on yourself. And when that happens, then we need to have a mindset, and it's really all the fruit of the spirit, but I took out self-control because I believe that is important. So God calls us, we need to have hope. God reveals our weaknesses, we need to have grace. God encourages us to have character, we need to have self-control. What the Reverend Dr. Charles Adams said in the Contrary Wind sermon was, when the storm comes, we need to, and what Ernest said, the storm is coming, I don't care, the wind is blowing, but you still need to take some action. But what's so beautiful about it is that action might not even be the right action. Do something and then trust God will get you in the right place. Hey, that's not the right direction, but don't just lay there and drown. And then we need to have the mindset of focus, like where you need to really focus on, like Ernest said, be strategic in that. So action is required. And then we have to trust God, trust his timing. What Dr. Anita Phillips was saying was, the moment that we are fixated on the outcome, we are trying to control things. We need to be more focused on the power that we have.
Wow.
Right. So don't try to control the outcome. Stay fixated on the power that we get from this Christ type mindset. And then that mindset is, in my world, it's strength, because I have to be strong to resist reacting too quick. I have to be strong enough to do the bold move that God might ask me to do. ultimately, when I was having my process, he told me to quit my very good paying 6-figure job that I was exceeding at. And literally, I was in the shower when I got my call from church. Then I went home, had a whole experience. The corporation I was working for, there was a buyout on the table. I was like, should I go or should I stay? Should I go or should I stay? And I went home and prayed. I'll blow your mind. And I heard from God in the shower, I want you to do three things. You're going to go there and you're going to tell them you're going to quit. You're going to tell them that you don't like your schedule and you don't have enough work-life balance. And you're going to also make sure that you quote scripture, and you're going to say, I've been at this mountain long enough. It's time to break camp and move on. I was like, well, that's ridiculous. All of this is ridiculous, but okay. I go to work that day. I'm like, my schedule is beautiful. I get off at 3:00. I get to go pick up my daughter. And that doesn't make sense. I get to work. My boss calls me in and he says, Kim, I need to tell you something. Your schedule that you have right now is not going to be anymore. So I'm going to need you to come in at this time and stay at this time. So that's going to happen. I know that you love being a coach and all that, but now I need you to go a different path, and you're going to have a different job now because we're trying to keep your job. And so your career is going to be different. And I'm like, this is my moment. I said, you know what? Trusting God, I said, well, you know what? This job is not aligned with my career goals. So that doesn't work. And the schedule doesn't work for me. I have a small daughter, so that's not going to work. And then they stood and he said, girl, you're crazy. You got a good job. You better take this job. I said, I've been at this mountain long enough. It's time to break camp and move on. And all of a sudden, my leader was like, are you just trying to tell us you want to leave? And it was like the sea parted, and he helped me, and everybody helped me. So you got to trust God, not for the outcome, but for what he's empowering you to do. And then the last two, greater, eradicate everything that's entangling you, and you need to get that out. And the mindset that we have to have there is perseverance. I got to hang in there. And then last but not least, and this is a controversial one, even that I find for pastors and bishops, the last R is restoration is promised. And I say it's controversial because it's a mindset of transformation. And I debated a bishop once, humbly so, because he was like, you know what? And then you think about alcoholism, the theory is sometimes you won't be out of it. There's no way out. But I know that the word says we will be restored.
Yes.
And transformation is possible by the renewing of our mind. But sometimes the fixed mindset is it can't get better. The growth mindset is it can and it will.
So y'all see why.
If that answers your question.
She answered my question. I let her go so she could really get the information out. Kim, thank you so much for being with us today to help us in this mindset. I really appreciate you pouring out to us. Congratulations on 20 years of helping people change their mindset to a mindset of growth and potential. Thank you so much. How can people connect with you?
Absolutely. You can connect with me a couple ways at Coach Kim Betty on social media, on Facebook, and on Instagram. And then you can also go to kimbetty.com. I have an app that I have launched, which means that you can get all of this development, do your spiritual growth for the cost of a Netflix subscription, literally. And that is my mission to help you through the journey, through the wilderness to what God called you to do. That's my mission.
Thank you, Kim. I appreciate you. You're awesome. You are awesome. You're doing what you need to do. Thank you for every tidbit, every word, every comment. We appreciate you so much. Thank you for being with us. Y'all connect with Coach Kim Betty. I'm telling you, the one time that we had to spend together as her being my coach was an amazing time. She is gifted in what she's doing. So make sure that you type your information in the Zoom, in the chat, so people that's watching from all forms can connect with you. Thank you so much, Kim. That's Coach Kim.
Thank you for always supporting what I'm doing too. I see you be supporting my stuff. I appreciate you so much. Thank you.
She's a great support. Thank you, Coach. All right, Ernest, I got to talk to you, man. What's going on? Coach is leaving out. What's going on? It's just going to be me and you.
I want to flip this conversation because, think about this. Now we're talking about mindset. So what about, let's deal with some unspiritual things where we've been dealing with the spiritual thing, but let's deal with, like, when you're talking about relationships, when you marrying someone that has a different mindset than you, how does that work? Because, how can you walk together unless they agree? You know what I'm saying? So your mindset, how people raise their children, that's a mindset. Those are things that we were raised to do. So, how do you spend your money? No, those are mindsets that we need to deal with. Because the Bible says first the natural, then the spiritual. So how do we deal with that kind of thing when you're dealing with mindset? Because you can't change a grown person's mind.
No.
And this is the thing that kind of she was saying. How you have perseverance, like you can persevere, and you can get through, and you can hang in there all you want. But some stuff is just a mindset. So how do you say as a leader, as a bishop in the Lord's church, how do you tell someone how to have the right mindset when going through these things?
Well, that's a good question, Ernest, because that's what's the most important thing. That's where the enemy is that attacks you. It most is in your mind. Mm-hmm. So you got to really focus. Let's first of all think about, okay, what are you hearing? What is your inner man saying to you as it relates to what you're dealing with? How do you deal with it in your marriage? Okay, there's some circumstances, you deal with age factors when you're a 60s baby and they're 30s baby, whatever the case may be. There's a difference between me and you. There's a difference of how your mother raised you one way, my mother raised me another way. How do you raise yours? It's so many different factors. So it's got to be a situation of sitting down and understanding the differences. And then there comes a word that most people don't like. There's got to be some compromises. Yeah, you're gonna have to compromise because I think different. I came from my mother was Mary Ruth Kinney Ford. She didn't play. She said she could listen. My mom said, I brought you and I'm gonna take you out. Okay, I'm running because I believe she gonna do it. She said, I'm gonna knock your teeth out. I believed it. The parents back in my day, when they said something, they believed it. There was no way I was gonna say, I'm gonna call the protectors, because I did that one time. I said, I'm gonna call people. And she said, okay, call them. But you know what you do? You're gonna walk your out of here naked. Right. So that was the end of that, because it just was that. That's how it is. So it's all about compromise. You got to really know how to compromise in any situation. I think different. I'm a faith man. Everything I think about is faith. If it don't work, and God sometimes He puts situation, you're in a situation, you're trying to come through a situation, He don't open that door, and it's like He shut the door. Okay, then if you shut that door, then I got to turn another way, because that's not the door you want me to go in. So I got to change and focus on the door. Where's the other door? So my mind is different than the average person, because I'm always thinking about, I apply everything to faith. Mm-hmm. I was looking at something the other day, I was like, wow, I'm sitting here complaining. But when I look back and think, it still got done. It may have been delayed, but it still got done. And I'm going to take care of it. Or, whatever the circumstances is, we always look at the bad part of it. Mm-hmm. But when you take the bad and you say, wait a minute, I'm really not that bad off. Mm-hmm. I ain't in the street. I ain't sleeping in my car. Things are okay. Mm-hmm. So it's a matter of compromise.
And people don't realize that your mind is the leader and the forerunner of all your actions. Everything you think, it starts in the mind. Everything starts in your mind. Like whatever. Some people think some people that can't communicate. I see this meme a lot, but it's really true. Some people that can't communicate think everything is an argument. That's a mindset, because they grew up around that kind of that, or they're always in defense mode. You know what I'm saying? That's a mindset, because these things it's called trauma. And at the end of the day, trauma, we all have it, whether we want to admit it or not. Everyone has it. Now everyone doesn't have the same, but we all have trauma, man. And your life will not get straightened out until your mind gets straightened out. Your mind is the leader. Your mind is the leader of what we're doing. And so I've been on this for the last 2 weeks. Again, I shared it with the men's fellowship I'm on. There's 5 spaces that I like to deal with. You have your public space, you got social space, personal space, private space, and intimate space. So what's the difference in all those spaces? Those are the spaces that we interact with every day. Public space, you can't control what people think, what they say about us. You can't at all. Socially, you really can't. I can control what I post, but I can't control what people post or whether they like it or not. That's a space. That's a mindset. Why didn't like my post? That's a mindset. Like, why do you think they have to like? See, those are things that we have to understand that bother us sometimes. Those are mindsets that we have to. Why they not liking my stuff? Why I put this and why they like that? That's a social mindset. So now we get more personal. We say our personal space is the people that you are interacting with most of the time. It could be coworkers. It's a personal thing because you see them every day. So you can control why they talking about me at the job. Those are things, the mindset. Well, I don't get involved in office politics because those are mindsets. We talk about mindset. Those are things that we probably don't even think about on a day-to-day basis that affect us every day. Then you get into your private space. Now that's where you really control who you control it from the public space. The personal space. Now, when you get into private space, now these are people that you live with. You could be a spouse, immediate family, children, grandchildren. Those are things that affect sometimes our family dynamic is messed up. And it's a mindset that over the years that we don't in this house, we sweep everything under the rug. Everything is a taboo. You know what I'm saying? We don't talk about that. Oh, we don't do that over here. That's a mindset. So you gotta understand these are things that affect us daily, man. And so the thing is, though, the intimate space, though, bro, Jesus Christ and God himself is not even in our intimate space. And I know people saying, how? Because he said, when you hear me knocking at the door, let me in. That lets you know he's not even in your intimate space. If everybody was in your intimate space, you'd be dead because they would know all your secrets. Think about it. So when you talk about your intimate space, that's your innermost thoughts. Who are you with every day, all day? You. Who talks to you most every day? You. So the mindset that we have is us. And we like to have external things that we like to blame. We want to blame it on this cup. We want to blame it on my boss. We want to blame it on my ex-wife, my ex-husband. We want to blame it on if you wouldn't have did that, I wouldn't have did this. Listen, everything that happens to us happens. And we have to develop the mindset that we're going to get over it. Because when those things become to get in these spaces that I just mentioned, when it gets closer and closer and closer and closer to you, now it's going to kill you. Not in so much of physically dead, but spiritually. Kill your dreams, kill your vision, kill your drive to even want to try. Those are things that happen to us when we let stuff get too close to us in our intimate space, because now it's killing our further to move on. So those are things that we have to remember, man, on a day-to-day basis. It may be a small thing, but it's a big thing, because the things that affect us, the Bible says the small foxes that destroy the vine, right? Not the big things. So I think that's just a thing that we have to start discussing, like what's in our space. That's what we think about. Who's in our space?
What's in our space and who's in our space?
Mm-hmm.
What's it? Because other person. So that means that the people that you're around can bring negativity to your space, which causes your space to be some kind of way.
Yes.
So we got to figure out, and that's why it's important. And that's why it's important in some things. I think me and you talked about this years ago. Sometimes you just got to be quiet about your situation. You got to be, you got to be prayerful. You can't tell everybody your business, because everybody don't know where you are. Everybody don't know what you're doing. Everybody doesn't know what God has told you to do. So if you consistently sharing it with everybody, then that's not what you're supposed to do. So you got to really be important. So what you're saying to me now is that you got to really look at those spaces that you're in, because each space is important as to how you operate in your day-to-day. Who's around you? I'm around myself 24. I'm around self 24/7. Mm-hmm. What are you putting in your mind? What are you feeding your mind? What positive are you taking?
When the last time you read a book instead of social media? I mean, social media and stuff, and it, all of us. I'm not saying this in a holier than thou kind of way. All of us is guilty of this stuff. I'm saying, but if you reach for your phone the first thing in the morning, I ain't even talking about, because some people are so deep, you got to pray for. And I'm not saying that you don't have to do have to. I'm just saying some people the first thing they reach for is their phone to check their messages, check to see who said. That's a mindset. Like, what is it? Why is your mindset on that early in the morning instead of, hey, I need to win the day. I need to manage my day. I need to make this day count. See, we have to change the way we do business, man. The way we do business with ourselves. The way we, like you said, give freely information for no reason. Like, everybody don't need to know everything. So, I don't need to just freely give my information to you. That's a mindset. Like, what makes me think that I need to give you my information? What makes me think that I need to have your opinion about what I'm doing? That's a mindset of what? I don't feel like I'm enough. See, these
so
are
that
things.
Makes, so what you're saying, does that mean that, because this is our generation now that we're so social, does that mean that the people we're looking for validation of our life?
Yes, yes, because we feel like this. Most of us have a call. What in church what we like to have a call. I like to say mandate. Everyone is mandated a certain amount of time on this earth and mandated a job that you got to do. The Most High ain't gonna ask you at the end of the day, they like your post. No, they're gonna ask you, did you do what I tell you to do? Did you use what I gave you to use? Did you use the talent that I gave you to maximize your moment? And so at the end of the day, we search for validation why people don't even like us. Most people on our social media don't like us, they're just looking at us. They don't really like you. I mean, because if they liked you, they would support what you're doing. Hello. So it's not even about that. It's they want you to, they like you, but they like you to a certain extent. And so at the end of the day, yes, we're looking for a certain amount of validation, a certain amount of, and we all do it. Like I said, all of us. I mean, I'm saying, but we have to check that when we start getting to a mindset of, hey, why they not liking this? Why? Because that begins to affect how you operate. Well, I ain't gonna say this to this person because they ain't gonna. No, listen. If you're doing it for the Lord, and I don't mean that in a churchy way. I'm saying if you're using your time, what God gave you on this earth for good, and what God gave it to use. Who cares what they think? Who cares if they like it or not? Put it out there and let it be what it is, because that's what's going to bless you.
For the work of the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
So we really got to And when we talk about mindset, we talk about things that can affect your mindset. We talk about how your mindset can be changed from negative to positive to really be affect your outcome. That's what it means by as a man thinketh, so is he. Because if you're thinking I can't do it, then guess what? You're not going to do it. If you're thinking it's possible, it will become possible. That's why the scripture, and we're going to take it there. It says, all things are possible if thou canst believe. It ain't possible if you don't believe it. And there's something. There you go. Go ahead, Vernon.
I said it has to start there. It has to start there. And your belief. We all have a belief system, man. Your belief system, but your belief system is affected by what happens to you environmentally. Sometimes even, you know, if in this area that don't work, you know, I want to start this business, but in that area it ain't gonna work. Well, that may be true based on research, but again, you got to research what it is that you're trying to do. It may work if you do it. You might hit to tweak something to make it work there. You see what I'm saying? Right. So at the end of the day, it's all about how you view it. Is the cup half empty, half full? That's a real thing. I'm a half full kind of person most of the time. You know what I'm saying? I don't never think it's half empty. I mean, it's how it is. I mean, I just feel like from what I've come from, or the things that the personal challenge I've faced over the last couple of years, even I had to dig deep and say, hey man, is it half full or half empty? Because if it's going to be half empty, I'm not going to make it. You know what I'm saying? If there's always something going on. And so that's how I'm able to come back personally from things that would seemingly kill some other people. But my mindset is, hey, I'm going to win regardless. I watched my dad that was not even saved, as we call saved. You know what I'm saying? I mean, he was in the street, you know, he was a good guy, but he, you know, my early years, I saw him in the street, you know what I'm saying? But I asked him, like, man, how do you get you? My daddy was 6'2" and 165. How did you make it in them streets that you was in? Son, I outthought everybody. I had a mindset. It was how I moved, how my swag, and those are things that I pick. And so people be looking at you like, I showed them like Bishop Farmer, but they don't understand, bro. That's just who you are. I show them like the way Mr. Lee always got this, or bro, that's just me. I'm not trying to impress you. That's my mindset. And see, you got to be your biggest supporter. You got to be your biggest cheerleader. All these things, Farmer, are mindsets. It's not just things. It's bigger than what we think. It's a mindset. It's how we operate. Yo, when a criminal does something, what they say? What is his MO? What is his modus operandi? What does he normally do? You see what I'm saying? Like, that's your MO. Like, so your mindset is your MO. Like, what do you normally do in the time of crisis? What do you do when things get rough? Do you run? Do you hide? Do you retreat? You know, that's a mindset. All that is how you think, bro. Again, as a man think, that's a scripture for today. People need to rehearse that. As a man thinketh, that ETH we know is continual. So that means every day, every minute, what you think.
How you thinking? How you thinking? You talk about mindset. The question to you today is how you thinking. What are you thinking?
I just thought about this, Farmer. When Jesus was passing on the road and the man was begging, he said, hey, he said, Jesus, what do you want me to do? Now check this mindset out. What was his? He said, what do you want? Now, the question was a direct question. What do you want me to do? What did the man say? I don't have nobody to put me in the pool. See the mindset? You waiting on somebody else to do something. Put me in the pool. Now. But you waiting on somebody to put you in the pool. He didn't ask. He said, what do you want? And so you had to ask, when God is asking us, that's prophetic. God is asking you today, what do you want? Well, I ain't got the money. I ain't got the connections. I ain't got this. I don't know what. That ain't what he asked you. He asked you, what do you want? Because that's the mindset you got to have. I got to win, and I'm waiting on him. And just like the other mindset was when he got hit, the other guy got hit with the eyes. He said, I don't know who the man was, but all I know is I once was blind. But now I see. See, the mindset is different. Like, I don't care nothing about that. I don't care about the details. I'm just happy to be that I can see. See, that's a mindset, right? That's a good right there, though. That's a good thing to do this week, man. He didn't ask you what you need. He said, what do you want? He didn't say who was there and who not there.
So this week, as you're going through your challenges this week, until we come back, you're going to write down, as a man thinketh, so is he. The question to you is, what are you thinking? Mm-hmm. And then the next question is, what do you want him to do?
Yes.
And then you're going to find the answer. What do you want him to do?
Right.
Provide this, give me this, do this. Then if that's what you want him to do, then he may come back to you and say, and what are you going to do?
Exactly.
And what are you going to do is that I'm going to believe and I'm going to put a works on it, because faith without works is dead. Right. So you got to remember, that is really good. As we wrap up, we got about 4 minutes. Listen, catch me up on the music. You doing it every time I turn around on Facebook. You're my brother. We text each other here and there. But what you doing? You on the plane going here? Keisha Grandy, Who you got? I mean, what you got going on?
I got, man, Keisha Grandy's project comes out tomorrow, the 6th.
Congratulations,
Reborn.
Keisha.
Reborn. The EP is out tomorrow. You can pre-order today if you want to. You will get a copy, instant copy of the single. Jesus Be All Right, produced by myself, written and produced by myself. We got we did For the Good of Them Over. Everybody knows that dynamic song from the 80s, Thompson Community Centers, Milton Brunson, For the Good of Them. We got some bangers on this thing, man. She's doing a good singing. Getting ready to do a lot of things for her this year. Got Lamont McCoy. He's an artist from Michigan, well known in the Kojic circle. So Lamont McCoy's project is pre-ordered tomorrow, produced by myself. That's coming out on the 13th. Got a Christmas song with Dalen Collins and Keisha Grandy from the family, both from the family. That's coming out for the Christmas season, man. I got my project is in the works. I got another thing with I got so many artists, man. I can't. I'm thanking God for the work. Again, He asked me what did I want, and He gave me what I want, so I'm not going to complain. See, the mindset, I had to change that right there.
you about to come back. I want to work, but you got too much, right? That's right. Good, man. You make it happen. I tell you, you are a talented, gifted man. I saw your mom from a distance a couple of weeks ago. I didn't get a chance to hug her and tell her how much I love her, but you know, I appreciate who you are. Put all your information. Listen, Keisha Grandy is a powerhouse.
Yes, sir.
And, you know, I really wish that you get that. Put that into how people can get Keisha's new song.
I will.
And support her. She's been on the show before. She's gonna come back. I want to come back and talk about her song being out. You know. And get more information because Ernest is in the music. We didn't talk about music today. Mindset was the topic today, but in a couple of weeks we're gonna have some authors on. I'm gonna do a show in over the prophetic women and the prophetic men, and then in December, I don't know if that show's gonna be in December, but December I want to really talk about the holiday season and encourage you through the holiday season. We've got a lot of stuff coming up that you need to stay tuned to. You never know who's gonna be on, what's gonna be said. I know I post a lot on social media, and then I try to really make sure that you see that. I was trying to see how much time I had, and you see that and be a part of it. So listen, don't not watch us on. That's all I really use social media for, is for encouragement and uplifting messages. I don't post cars on there. All those. That's not what I do. That's not important to you. It's not important what we got, what we don't have. It's important that we give you the word of God. That message, contrary winds. I want you to think about that, because that man of God preached that message. So the contrary wind is contrary to what you believe. Things are happening contrary to what you believe. Your faith says I can, but this wind is coming that says it's contrary. You got to really pay attention to that. When the contrary wind comes, you got to know that you're on the right road, because the contrary wind comes to toss you to and fro, so that you don't become victorious in God like you're supposed to be. So I want you to just stay encouraged, stay tuned to our show next week, week after next, I'm sorry. I got two wonderful people. Young man who from Michigan, from Grand Rapids, got shot. He was a police officer, got shot, and he has a great testimony and book coming out. And then there's another lady who is the wife of Purvis Jackson from the Spinners. Sweet woman, got 84 years old, and she's launched a career in TV. And I want you to, she is a epitome of it ain't never too late. It ain't never too late. So I want you to meet these two people along with my co-host that'll be back here in a couple of weeks. We're going to try to make it happen, keep it happening. Anything else, Ernest, before we get out of here?
Just want people to stay encouraged. This is a season where we're moving into now. September was a month of suicide prevention month. But I know that toward this end of the year, people get sad, lost family members during the Christmas holiday, Thanksgiving holiday season. Just stay connected to the source. God is the source. Stay connected to source. Stay close, so your mindset will not change and go into a defeated mindset, so you can always win.
Yeah. With God, all things are possible. With God, all trust. This young man, Ernest Lee, I don't know if you're going to write a book.
My book is in the process now, sir. I'm almost done with it, and it's going to be published nationally. We get ready to do. I'm doing a CD and a book together. It's about to go down, man. I got to tell the story, and people waiting on the story.
What a testimony! What a testimony! You looking at him, and you don't know. He don't look like what he's been through. He don't smell like the fire he was in, because God brought him out. When he brought him out, he brought him up victorious.
Yes, sir.
And it ain't something I heard.
Yes, you know, right, Doc, you walked it with me.
In the midst of the storm. Close enough to get serious. But they get serious. We'll see you next time on The Farmer Report. I'm Dr. Keith. That's Ernest Lee. We'll see you. Peace.